versus the Betrayed Souls here. Betrayed Souls coming around the bottom, Snow's running that bow, Shinnok running the heavy mace, Hell2K running the infernal scythe, DIO running the demonic staff and the druid cowl, and Pissa running the one-handed holy. On the Betrayed Souls side, we see the heavy mace coming out of Vertinio, Birch running the scythe, FDPS running one-handed holy, Humongous running the enigmatic staff, and Zeksektra, how the hell did I say that? Zeka Rekka running the either Great Curse or Demonic, I can't remember at the moment. I believe it's the Demonic. No, it is the Great Curse. So basically the idea is that the MV team just want to put pressure out and then use the Demonic to secure the kills without the Betrayed Souls being able to actually heal them back up. The Betrayed Souls guys are looking just to sustain. They have the Arcane, they have the burst from the double DPS and the Arcane Beam, but Betrayed Souls just don't have particularly much damage with the two heavies and a healer. Like, they just have 2 DPS here, and it's pretty much all on Birch to do the damage, and honestly, I don't see them doing particularly much. I mean, Pissa does drop really low here, and he probably could have died with an extra auto attack there, and that's how close he was, and that was just off 2 people doing damage. I just don't see how you can fall that low, to be honest. But Envy do the right thing, they just fall back, they know that they can sort of win this. Zeka Rekka is really, really low, and all Birch is going to keep doing is try and get them bloody reaps onto as many people as possible just to put pressure. We haven't really seen much from Hell2K in this fight. He takes a lot of damage, but he's kind of had to sit back every time just to play safe because he can't really get into the opposing team. Betrayed Souls all really topped off here. DIO obviously is dropping the Druid Cow on command, and Pissa has like half mana. FDPS is very, very similar, but we do see another Druid Cow here. So I would actually call this fight at the moment in favour of Betrayed Souls, just on the sustainability and the current like health and mana. But Envy basically have the damage to insta-burst someone running triple DPS with the bow and the Infernal Scythe. We do see so much damage coming onto Hell2K again. Vitino actually opting to use the Guardian Armor as he's got the Wind Wall on the Arcane of Betrayed Souls Humongous. So yeah, we see Betrayed Souls actually take this first fight. They're a very, very sustainable team just because obviously they've got the 2 heavy frontliners, the leather scythe, so the only clothies really are the healer and the curse. The rest of their team is just so tanky. But we do see sort of Envy get picked apart a little bit. I don't think Snows did too much on that bow, and unfortunately that was a huge part of what was potentially going to win them that fight. Bow has enough damage to single-handedly kill someone if he can just use all 15 shots as well as the explosive shots, but he never really got to do that. Moving on then, we do see Envy swap their team comp up a little bit, which is quite interesting. So now we see Shinnok, instead of playing the heavy mace, he's now actually running the soul scythe, knocking the whole Betrayed Souls team up, allowing Shoals now using the frost staff to put some AoE pressure out. We do see some lag coming out from both sides at the start. This was actually lag in game, so not really much we can do about that. But Snows gets silenced, not really going to do too much. Vitano dives straight in. But the Betrayed Souls guys have to realise that obviously Envy have changed their comp. We do see the first tornado coming out and only hitting one person. Not exactly going to be a major issue. Vitano falling really, really low. But he is a tank. It's going to take him 2 seconds to heal back up, and there's not really much that can be done about it. But the entire Envy team are just sitting back and waiting for that Nado to do something huge. The wind wall's just kind of been used aggressively every time. It's not really been used for Betrayed Souls to fall back down the choke safely. But we see like a 3-man knock up here, and this is for Envy to do some huge damage. The hail comes down from Snolls, doing so much damage. DEO landing the armor pierces on as many people as possible, and they kind of have the big wombo combo set up around that. If they can get the hail, the armor pierce, the frost bomb, and hail using the mighty bloody reap, they're going to do so much damage to the Betrayed Souls guys, and Betrayed Souls realise that they can just hold the top of this choke and let Hale be the aggressive one, and he does it so well. He kind of goes in, takes a lot of the damage, comes back up for healing, moves back down, does the same thing again, comes back up for healing, and he keeps doing this. But the Betrayed Souls guys, rather than being the dominant team here, they're really, really low, taking a lot of damage, and Pissa running that great Holy Staff still, that he's able to top everyone up really, really quickly. He's going to struggle a little bit more for mana, but he has got the Druid Cowl, so yeah. We see Zekira being beamed, but he doesn't really manage to get anything off with that Curse Staff, so I'd like to have seen that being saved for Hale after the tornado so they can get a huge wombo off. I think that would have done more for the MV team, especially since all of it was off cooldown. They could have done a lot more. Vitano is basically playing sort of firefighter here. He's just trying to stop things being used. But again, the Holy Explosions comes out from Envy and they just top everyone up. Envy has been so healthy for the entirety of this, and Betrayed Souls just can't handle it. We do see them go down here, and that's because basically they can just jump onto any one of Betrayed Souls still using the double armor pierce. They're going to fall pretty quickly. Double armor shred. So we do see Envy take the second fight. It was a really, really good fight. Very, very smart swap from Shinnok, realizing they can just play around the nados and they'll be fine. So we see the last fight come out here, and Betrayed Souls, I don't think, swap anything out. I think they run with exactly the same comp. We'll see in a second when they actually start engaging. Birch is just chilling at the back. No reason to get poked down by the MV team at all, so I can understand why he's doing it. Shinnok running the Soul Scythe again in this one. They do kind of have a standoff. I believe this was the fight that actually went to over 5 minutes. The rule of the tournament was that over 5 minutes, it would go to Twitch chat, and this was the fight that, just because they had this standoff over the choke, it ended up going over 5 minutes. We do see Zekira running the Cursed Beam this time instead of Armor Pierce. I don't like this change. I can see why he's done it. He's done it to link it with the Arcane Beam from Humongous so that he gets massive poke off from safety. And actually it's enough damage to kill people if you do it right. But it means that Hale doesn't have that Armor Pierce to play around for. Birch doesn't have the Armor Pierce to play around for so much damage. But again, Betrayed Souls can't really push up this choke. If they come up the choke, Shinnok's going to just nado them, and that's an instant loss from the Betrayed Souls team. But as you can see, like, Hale's taking so much damage there, but all he's got to do is run directly away, and he's going to interrupt it every time. There's not much that they can do about that. Snowles, Hale, Shinnok all standing at the top of this choke waiting for something to happen. And Zekira's just trying to do what he can, but with the stun run on Shinnok, he's not even using the slam, he's using the stun run, gets a 3-man nado, and it forces Vitano to go in to do some damage, and obviously take quite a lot of damage for it. It's not loads. Hale does take a lot of instant burst from Birch, however he's just going to be able to block it and move out. That's pretty much the cooldowns come out of Birch there on the Infernal Scythe. But Envy always know that they have this choke to go back to. If they ever want to, they've got the nado to secure it, and they've got the wind walls to secure it, so they've got so much to do. And all it takes is for Shinnok to get one single 3 or 4 man nado, and the Betrayed Souls team are going to fall apart. We see Hale here trying to put as much damage as he can. Again, Birch wasn't able to return too much damage from him because Zekira didn't have the Armor Pierce. If he'd got the Armor Pierce and a couple of stacks of Val Curse, Hale would have dropped a lot more. As you can see here, Hale runs directly the opposite way, got 3 ticks of 128 off, roughly 370 damage. It's not enough to cause any pressure for Pissa or his mana, especially with that Druid Cowl on Envy. Poke is not going to work against the Envy team. We see the stun run come on Shinnok, just because why not. Gets the interrupt on the Birch heavy slam as well, which is really, really nice. Convenient, I don't think it was planned, but it works. And gets the 3-man knock-up, or at least 2-man knock-up, and a slow on Vitano. Vitano's just kind of sitting with the backline with the Guardian Armor just to try and stop people. Snowles is using the Druid Cowl, but it means that Envy have to stack up, and it's not doing any favours for them. Shinnok's just kind of peeling away the backline of Betrayed Souls. Vitano's just too tanky to do anything about it, though. To really drop down. This is a 4-man armor pierce. This is the 4-man nado, sorry. This is where Envy kind of just take the cake and they can walk in and put so much pressure. Vitano does get that Guardian Armor again. Shinnok does drop quite low with that Arcane Beam. Still isn't enough to actually kill him though, or put life-threatening pressure on him, but it does allow Betrayed Souls to actually push up the choke. They do have to fall back down just because of Sticky Pots and Armor Pierces. They take a 4-man Armor Pierce, which is enough that basically Hale's going to walk in with a Bloody Reap and half health 2 or 3 people if he's got the Armor Pierce on them. Again, another 3-man knock-up. This is just like high time that Birch takes a lot of damage. He has to stealth just to get out of it. He does come back in with a Bloody Reap, realising that his team can follow up, but takes a lot of damage just trying to basically survive. Vitano has been kind of the target of Envy for the entirety of this. I don't really know why, obviously being the pure heavy tank, I don't know what the reasoning for that is, but Envy can just sit around, play on this Druid Cow all they want, and Hale takes a lot of damage, drops really, like literally to less than 100 health there from Birch with the Cursed Beam. But again, Hale just walks straight out of range of it, and there's not really an issue. With an Armor Pierce, that was a kill. And this is the important part. Vitano just dives straight in with the silence route and the Guardian armor, just removing any pressure from Envy at the time. Birch hits a one-man Bloody Reap, which isn't ideal and takes a lot of damage to do it, but Envy can keep rotating back using this Druid Cow just to survive. Vitano gets in, gets a one-man snare. Unfortunately, he nearly got Snowles. Snowles played really well to Assassin Boots out of that, but FTPS is just so healthy as well. I believe he swapped to the Great Holy here as well, just to top his team off, and he does really well with it. Hale realising that he needs to put some counter pressure out, but again, Betrayed Souls have kind of bullied their way up here and managed to take the choke and hold the advantage themselves. Still, they can't really push down because Shinnok's going to use that Nado to stop them, but Betrayed Souls are pushing Envy off their own Druid Cow, and that's where it starts to get a little bit detrimental. Pisses on 30% mana here, drops really low with that Holy Explosion, stops everyone up, but manages to drop really low on mana. Birch realises he can just be aggressive here. I wish he'd have rotated back sooner. There was no real need for him to take this much pressure. Shinnok hits like a 4-man Nado, which is just huge. Vitano realises he has to go on Peel Patrol, goes with that Guardian Armour, and hits both of the heavy damage dealers from Envy. There's just not really much Envy could do to put pressure out at that time, and Birch goes in with the Gigantify, hits as many people as he can. He only hits 2. But Zekira using that Curse Beam to put some damage onto Dio. Dio in this is basically not really able to use Aura of Decay for too long. He's just got to use the Vile Curses as well as the Armor Pierce. Shinnok hits a 4-man Nado. Birch is really low. Zekira is really over-engaged. They do overlap cooldowns there. They use the Enigmatic with the Ice Block. Isn't ideal, isn't needed, but probably a little bit of bad sort of communications there. Birch does walk in with that Bloody Reap, but he gets Sticky Potion to stop him doing any damage and being able to connect with people. We just see so much pressure coming out of so much sustainability coming out of both teams. This is why obviously this fight went to the 2 minutes. The 5-minute mark. Betrayed Souls keep pushing in. Envy keep targeting Vitano. That's a 4-man knock-up there. They should be capitalising on that, and they're not able to. Hale just kind of walks in every time and puts so much pressure. Shinnok's not really doing enough damage to put pressure himself, other than the Nado. Yeah, Sticky Potion, basically it's a slow and a damage reduction ground targeted. He's massive. The consumables have really been reworked. Calm down. Envy putting so much pressure out. They just basically have the pressure to do damage. Birch comes out with a lovely Bloody Reap onto Envy though. This whole Envy team kind of has to play around Shinnok. Vitano goes really low and misplays huge. He went in low health, knew that he was taking a lot of damage, didn't have enough to get back, and potentially loses the fight for Envy here. For Betrayed Souls, sorry. Envy just realised now that they've got one down, they kind of just have to sit in the back. Humongous actually taking a lot of damage, has to sit in FTPS's Great Holy Explosions, and Shinnok, every time he uses that, is able to get a 2 to 3-man Nado off, and it causes so much pressure and so much damage. Betrayed Souls do go down, and a convincing win from Envy. They took a lot of damage at the start, got pushed off the middle, but ultimately came back to be really safe, really secure. So yeah, good fight.